The mic okay?
Check 1, check 2.
You good? Okay. We did the quarterback club luncheon, and Ryan Radke announced to the crowd yesterday that our game could be found on the Mountain West Digital Network, and clearly that was the wrong crowd to be announcing that the game was on the computer. The average age in the quarterback club, I appreciate I always appreciate their support, and it's a fun group, but there are going to be a lot of grandsons and granddaughters trying to help people find that game on the computer. We're back at it. We are, talking to the team right now about Hawaii, about the challenge of going out there, making the trip, the challenge against playing what I believe is a much improved team from a year ago, even though the record doesn't reflect it at this point. Very close games against Washington and Oregon State. A 20-10 game the other night at San Diego State. I think they're much better than they were a year ago. It's going to be a physical game. They are not finesse on either side of the ball. This is going to be one of the few teams we'll see all year. We're going to actually see 2 in a row, which is very unusual for us. We're going to see a team that's going to line up in 21 personnel with a fullback in the backfield and run power and counter and less spread concepts. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of that, so that's going to be a challenge. Offensively, even though the starting tailback's out with the suspension, the 2 guys, and I'm not going to give a lot of names with Hawaii because I'm just going to butcher them. Trust me, I know who they are, and I know their numbers, and I know they're good players, but I don't want to be disrespectful because I'm going to butcher their names. So the kid 4 and 22, 4's done a really nice job of running hard. 22's a little bit smaller, 5'8", 180, Florida kid who has a nice change of pace. He's got some burst. Woolsey, the quarterback, has, I think, been a little bit erratic at times, but at other times he got really hot in the second half of the Oregon State game. Pedroza is a good receiver. Kemp is a good receiver. I think the thing that catches your eye on defense is that the three front guys that see the most players, seniors, they've played a lot of football. They might be a little bit undersized, but they've played a lot of football. They put a new corner in, Phillips, who's a Miami, Florida kid. And you thought Alabama to Reno was a long way away from home. Miami to Honolulu is a long way away from home. But he's playing well, and he's out there competing. And Stevenson, the safety, is a good player. I think they play really hard on defense. I think they've settled down a little bit from a year ago. They were kind of all over the place schematically. You can see they've tightened it up a little bit, and that's been for the good. And then on special teams, they throw a lot of looks at you. I think we counted upwards of, maybe nearly 20 different punt formations with an Australian punter who also plays receiver, who can punt with both feet. And essentially every punt's a fake. And if you stop the fake, he punts it. And you're not going to get very many return opportunities because the ball's bouncing around all over the place. Their kickoff return's pretty good. Their kickoff coverage is all right. The punt thing has got me concerned. I mean, it's a circus. It's a fire drill every time they go out there. And if you want to have a laugh, watch Wyoming. Wyoming would make sure it wasn't a fake, and once the ball was punted, every guy in the Wyoming team would run out of bounds so that the ball wasn't bouncing around and catch one of them on the leg and turn it into a live ball. I mean, the chances of getting a return against this team are very difficult. So we got to handle that craziness. One of the biggest things I'm talking to the team about right now is that our sole focus is this game, and we cannot kid ourselves. This is Hawaii is completely different at home. Over the past 10 years, they are 51-27 at home. They're 24 games above 500 at home, and they're 16 games below 500 on the road in that time span. So it's not an opinion, it's a fact. They are a much better team at home. They play with different energy. So that's going to be a challenge, and it's a Thursday departure for us because of the 3 time zone change, and you know, we got to make sure everybody understands we're going to try and win a conference game here and not go sightseeing. If they want to go sightseeing, they can go back to Hawaii on their honeymoon. But this is not the time. We're not going to set foot on the beach. We're not going to be walking around Waikiki. My goal is to turn this into a business trip. And to be honest with you, I mean, the flight's about 5.5 hours, if I remember correctly. And if you look at the time that we spent in a bus to go to Davis and then Davis onto Santa Clara to get ready for the San Jose State game, it's really, I'm just telling them, hey, it's the same thing. Instead of getting on and off a bus and doing that stuff, we're getting on a plane. You know, we got to deal with the time change, but everybody's got to deal with that when they go over there. So, like Coach Chow, he's a good man, does a good job. Offensively, you know, what they're doing is it's a little bit unique in the sense that it is old-time power, counter, zone, play action, a lot of boots. And it looks like what he was running at USC when I was at Notre Dame. It's the same kind of stuff. So we've got to be disciplined. We've got to stop the run. And we can't allow play action shots over our head. And we can't allow them to complete double moves like they have. You know, it feels like when they need a go-to play, they're going to give you a hitch and go or a slant and go and try and get you on a double move and throw it over your head. So that'll be a challenge for us this week. Take any questions?
Yeah, you talked about last week the couple of losses, and some of the players were, you know, almost on the brink of tears. They were so frustrated. To come away with the win you guys had on Saturday, what effect does that have in the opposite way for some guys?
Well, it was certainly a joyful locker room, and as well it should have been. You know, to come back from 15 points down and score, I think, what was it, like 28 unanswered or 22? I can't remember what the number was. 27, 29 unanswered before we gave one up at the end. I mean, the players and the coaching staff, they deserve credit for that, and they should take joy in it because winning's hard. It's even harder when you keep having to come from double digits down. But you know, I have no doubt that they needed that. Frankly, they deserved it, and you could feel the energy in the building this morning at 7 a.m. when they came in for meetings. I mean, the guys were wide awake and into what we were doing, and everybody was a little bit early. And yeah, I mean, things always go a little bit better after a win. I don't think that's earth-shattering. So.
Could you talk about the play of your true freshmen last week, mainly Butler and Chowda?
Yeah, that was nice to see Chowda kind of come on like that. I mean, that's the guy that we recruited. That's the kind of burst, and but because he doesn't have a ton of football background, you know, it just took some adjusting to get used to life as a Division I-A college football player and the speed of the game. And I mean, frankly, where he was at last year at high school, he was a pretty talented guy compared to everybody else. Now he's at a place where he's going playing with and against guys of equal talent, in some cases more. And I think that took a little adjusting for him as a true freshman. But the 2 plays he makes at the end of the game are unbelievable. I mean, when you see the bull rush on film and his explosion out of his stance, and then to take a 330-pounder and just run him over as a true freshman, and then the hustle play to strip the ball at the end to finish the game, it's an incredible effort play. And you know, to get that from Pat was that was exciting to see, and it was exciting for him to have some success because you know, I could sense he was getting frustrated from time to time because it wasn't coming as easy as it had for him in high school. It never does. I mean, this is a significant leap, high school to Division I-A. But it was nice to see him have some success, and there's no denying how pivotal those plays were.
Do you get a sense from playing some younger guys on defense and seeing a little bit of success there, Chowda, who's
Uzoma, Mitchell, guys like that. Do you get a sense that this defense is even growing up a little bit as the season goes on?
Oh, I think it's hard to say that because when you look at the points that we've given up over the last 3 weeks, I mean, I'm very happy with the win, but it doesn't change the fact that we gave up 35. We've got to continually improve. I think the one thing it does show us, though, is that we have a little bit more faith in our depth now than we did maybe 6 weeks ago. I think that would be a better way of saying it. To say that I'm pleased about winning a game where we gave up 35 and gave up 28 and a half, I don't want to go that far. We need to continue to improve, but I think it is showing that our depth, we probably have a little bit more faith in our depth than we did, month and a half ago.
Just kind of generally overall, do you see that this team might be ready to take another level because of that and because of the Union? I guess you had its best game so far this year with a lot of freshmen playing.
Well, I think if we want to point to progress, tangible progress, I think pointing at the offensive line is the better example. Because again, it's hard to talk about all the progress you're making on defense when you give up, the points that we've given up over the last 3 weeks. Especially when earlier in the year you had held a team like Washington State to 13, I don't think we played bad at Arizona. I think Arizona just had some better folks than we did. We got caught in some matchups, but I didn't feel like we played great against Boise or Colorado State, and 28.5 at BYU is not good enough. Now, give them credit for forcing the turnovers and holding them to 7 in the second half. Those were not giveaways; those were takeaways. We were not the beneficiary; we took it away. So defensively, we do deserve credit for that. But I think if you want to point at one group on the team and say, look, there's tangible progress being made, I think the offensive line is a good place to start because. Adam Corey, Austin Corbett, and Joey Engelmeyer are all redshirt freshmen, and they're all playing significant snaps. And we are watching them get better, and I was concerned whether or not we were going to be able to hold up against BYU because they're big and old and strong and come from everywhere. And I felt like we hung in there really good. I mean, I know Cody got flushed a couple times, but I don't think they registered a sack, did they? They had one, and we got 6, and I think we ran it well enough to keep them honest and to not become one-dimensional. So, there were times when people would be running in our backfield a couple weeks ago where somebody would have their head down or somebody in the front would get thrown out of the bar from time to time, and you're not seeing that stuff happening nearly as much, which is a good thing, and it's frankly, for all the practice we want, nothing gets guys prepared like game action. There's no greater teacher than experience, and now Engelmeyer and Corbett and Corey are getting a lot of experience, and they're improving every week, and we just need to make sure we keep it that way. We keep improving.
Coach, have you ever coached in Hawaii? If you haven't, have you gone anybody about advice on just what it's like to play over there?
I have coached there once, but it was a bowl game. We went there with Notre Dame, and there's some experience to be taken away, but for a bowl game at Notre Dame, you're going 5-6 days in advance. You've got time to get yourself acclimatized to the time change and all the other stuff. So I have called some people. I spoke to Mike Riley last night from Oregon State. I've spoken to Bobby Houck. I've talked to some people that have had to make that trip just to talk about what just to share some ideas about how to handle the time change and frankly, we have a great resource in Nick Rolovich right on the staff, and it's not like I'm not familiar with Hawaii. I mean, I spent 2 years chasing Manti Te'o around, and then once we had success there, kept going back. So it's not like I don't know my way around or know what the danger areas are. I can assure you we're not going to be walking around. Our guys are not going to be out of the hotel just walking around Waikiki. That's not going to happen because there are some touristy spots where, some crazy things can happen, and certainly that's not what we're looking for, getting ready to play a game.
Is that what you're worried about as the biggest distraction?
No, the biggest distraction is Hawaii. I mean, they're better than you think they are. I mean, you look at 2-5 or whatever the record is, and you think, well, they're not very good. But when you study the film, they are. They're physically tough. This is going to be a physical game. It's not going to be a 100-play game like BYU was. I mean, each team will probably, be between 70 and 80 plays. But it is going to be physical. I mean, they are not finesse on either side of the ball. So, we got to get physically ready to go and be ready for, to go slug it out with a physically tough team.
Do you take anything from Bradison too? I mean, he's the guy who's been on the staff the longest, has made a few trips to Hawaii.
Yeah, we talked about it as a staff last night, and Mike had some good input. I mean, you're around long enough. Everybody's been through it once or twice.
And I wonder too if
my biggest point of frustration right now is our plane doesn't have a DVD player in it. So we got that friggin' long flight. I'm going to have to read the whole time. Or,
no How I Met Your Mother episode.
No, I mean, if I could, I could make it through a season in 5 hours.
Do you also take something from some of the guys? You've got some veteran leadership on the team that has played there.
Yeah.
Tony and Hecking and those guys. Obviously, they can teach the team some things. They can lead the team and get experience.
Yeah,
Does that help you?
Yeah, it does, and I'll ask. But I mean, coaches coach, players play. I'll talk to the leadership committee about it. But the accommodations were different last time. I mean, when they went last time with Coach Alt, I believe they stayed in a private resort somewhere where they were kind of protected. And we were not able to get that done. We have to stay right on Waikiki, which is very, very busy. So if they're not going to be protected, they're not going to spend a lot of time outside of the hotel. And again, look, you can snorkel, and that'd be great. But if you lose and got to fly through the night on Sunday night, so I saw a fish. We still lost the game. I mean, we're going to win a game. We're not going to hang out. I mean, why would this be any different than Utah? I mean, we didn't go on sightseeing trips in Provo or San Jose for that matter. I didn't take them to Google headquarters to, go show them around. I mean, it's Hawaii. It's conference opponents. Not that big a deal.
It's big enough a deal that you got to leave a day early.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't go sightseeing in Tallahassee. I mean, it's got to do the reason we're leaving a day early is because of the time change. Because I'm concerned about getting their body clocks adjusted to a 3-hour time change. And there are some people that will tell me that I'm wrong, that you should just simply go the day of and stay on your own clock, and that'll be something that I research in the off season. But these decisions as to when to leave, they're made months and months in advance. So it's not like had I wanted to change my mind, I could at this point. I mean, renting a plane's not like renting a car. You can't call up and be like, I'm decided to pick it up on Friday. So
Hawaii obviously on offense very different from when Rolo was there. What does Woolsey do that kind of stands out to you?
He manages the game very well, but the thing that he does is when it's time to take a shot, he makes the throws. I mean, when they get a double move and there's a guy running open down the middle of the field, he'll make the throw. I think he throws pretty well on the move, and a lot of what they do is movement. You don't see a ton of straight drop back. It's a lot of play action, move him out of the pocket. There's a lot of screen game. And I think he's improved as the season has gone along.
Do you like your matchup, at least in this sense? I mean, you guys have been good against the run more so than the pass. These guys probably run it better than they throw it.
I feel okay about the matchup. Our depth on the defensive line and, frankly, our size. It's not great when people want to lean on us, but they're not 330 pounds like BYU was. And those guys, obviously, when they're leaning on you for 100 plays, it takes a toll. I think it's a little bit different. I think our focus this week is different. There's no doubt. I mean, they're not going to throw it 60 times. It's just not going to happen. They're going to try and control the clock and eat it up 4 yards at a time. And then when it comes time to take a shot, take a shot. So we're going to, the biggest thing I think we need to do is we need to win on first and second down and try and get them into third and long, because that's not their wheelhouse.
Do you get any sense at all from your players that again, Hawaii has not been good the last few years, that they might not be focused on this week?
No, I don't get that sense, although Monday is the players' day off, so we haven't, you see guys coming in watching tape on their own on Monday, but we're not with them collectively. And then this morning we go right into position meetings, so the first time we'll be all together here is in about a half an hour, and I can assure you that is going to be my first point, is that we don't take anybody for granted. And when you simply point to the 51 and 27 over 10 years, they're a different team at home. And we need to be. And all you have to do is look at this year. Look at how competitive it was against Washington, how competitive it was against Oregon State. Those are Pac-12 teams going to Hawaii and fighting their tails off to win. So I would think that we're mature enough at this point that we would not take this for granted one bit. At least I hope that would be the case.
What do you think it is? I mean, you referenced how good they've been at home. What do you think it is about playing on the island that makes them a different team?
I think the comfort, and I think the familiarity. But, I mean, think about how I'm talking about this trip right now. And then they have to do it 6 times a year, where every time they travel, they're going at least 3 time zones, sometimes 4 and 5. And, that takes a lot out of you. People, I don't. People who have been in athletics understand, but I don't think the casual fan understands that when you got to sit on a plane for 5-6 hours and you change 3 time zones and your body's all screwed up, and that's hard to do. And I've heard some, I don't know it for a fact, but I've heard stories about them, like when they go to Fresno, fly to L.A., get off the plane and get on a bus and go another 3 or 4 hours on a bus to Fresno. I mean, that'll take a toll on you now. So I think that makes it difficult, and that's one of the challenges of playing and coaching there. It's one of the unique places, and there's a lot of positives about it, but there are also some challenges, and that's one of them. And every road trip you make when you're at Hawaii is a long one. It's a long one. So.
Anything else for Coach?
Good. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. All right, guys, fire away when ready.
Good the win feel at BYU.
It felt great going up there, after losing those 2 that were so close, and finally putting a game together as a team, and especially against a team like BYU. It was huge for the team, and it was great for me too. It was fun. Wanted to get BYU before I graduated. That was one of those things.
Brock, do you get a sense that this team is, maybe on the verge of taking another step, with the improvement of the offensive line and getting some of the younger guys to help on defense?
Absolutely. As seniors, we spoke, last week just about how the first half of the season is over. We had to get this one on the road to start, the undefeated second half of the season that we wanted. And so getting that first win just, showed the rest of the team that, look, we can win from here on out. And so I feel like it got everyone aboard, and, things are rolling now.
What do you think the key is defensively to be more consistent, to be, more like the second halves of the last 2 or 3 games?
I feel like energy has a lot to do with it. And I feel like playing, having a short-term memory out there, I feel like is another big thing. I feel like too many guys, get down on certain things. We got to stop. All of a sudden there's turnover. We're back out there. Someone busts a big play or has a missed assignment, whatever it is. I feel like people, sometimes kind of get down on that. And so I think that, our defense is learning that, we have a shorter term memory right now. It's just play the next play. It's something that Coach always preaches to us. And so I feel like, that's definitely why things are working out better right now.
Do you like your matchup defensively with Hawaii this week?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm 100% confident in our defense. I love everyone out there. Is Hawaii challenging? Yes. Coach has talked about the time zone changes. You got a bunch of guys who've never been to Hawaii before, and that's something that we're going to have to address as a team here in this meeting and throughout the week. You can't let that be a distraction. And then again, you have Norm Chow's offense, which is always challenging. They're not one to mess up, really. It's a straight up battle. They're not going to disguise anything. They're going to come out with a couple plays. Here it is. It's our job to beat them because they're not going to mess up at all, really.
Ron, can you see some differences yourself from the young offensive line? Corey and Corbett and Engelmeyer. Have you seen progress yourself over the course of the season from those guys?
Absolutely, and you can notice that at practice. When you go against them, in the beginning of the year, it's just one of those things that, we're an older defensive line, and they would kind of just, if we hit them with a good move, okay, but now there's a little more fight in them. Things are challenging. They're picking up our stunts a lot better now, so there's definitely been some development there.
Have you seen a change in confidence level?
Definitely. That's one of those things that, that I said. Normally in the beginning of the year, they would just kind of let things fly. Now they're, put their head in there, put your hands in the chest, and, you can tell that they're playing more confident.
I mean, going against a veteran defensive line group like you guys, can you see more fight from them, them not willing to back down and maybe kind of come after you guys a little bit?
To a certain extent. They still know who the boss is, but you can definitely tell that they're playing more confident. I think he's definitely stepped things up from last year. The guy plays with a lot of energy, and he's extremely creative in his pass rush moves, and he's got that ability to get home. He's kind of a soft-spoken guy for the most part, but I feel like he lets his actions on the field, speak for itself.
Where does his first step come from? I mean, it's such a quick first step.
That's something you're going to have to ask him. I mean, it is pretty amazing, though. The guy gets off the ball extremely well. I think the weight, it's added good weight, which is helping him. It's weight in his legs. It's basically just added a little more muscle to his frame that has enabled him to, turn the corner faster, be more explosive, and I think it helped him play against the run a little bit better too. Especially when you're in that, 7 technique and you have that tight end there. His get off's faster and he's able to, maneuver around people a lot better.
Somebody pull your hair last game?
Yeah, they might have done that.
Back-to-back games with kind of cheap shots. I mean, do you feel like you're a marked man in some way, or is that just a coincidence?
I don't know. I don't know what other teams think. I'm just out there to do my job. If it is, it is. But, I mean, I can't change anything. I can only control what I do on the field.
What do you think the key is with Woolsey? What do you guys have to do defensively and maybe up front?
That's just going to be, you kind of go back to the basics in your assignments. This team, like I said, they don't really have too many smoke and mirrors type of thing. This is you have this gap, this guy's going to do this, now can you do it better than him type of thing. So it's really just going to be our entire defense. We have to contain them, we have to basically play assignment sound football and kind of go back to our technique and make sure everything's perfect.
Can you and Cody and Matt and Jordan, guys who have played at Hawaii before, what can you do to help this team prepare for this kind of unique trip?
I feel like we can just talk to the guys who are in the locker room talking about it. It's cool to go to Hawaii, all that stuff. But for the most part, I feel like Coach is going to handle all that and address that in the team meeting. But, we'll just kind of be the regulators. If someone's talking about, during Hawaii, I want to go do this and this. Be like, no, I mean, you have to treat this like any other week. It's a business trip. I mean, it's cool to go there, but, I mean, we've been there like 3 or 4 times now, and I think I was on the beach a total of 20 minutes, maybe an hour. So it's definitely a business trip.
There's kind of a conflicting thought here is you guys have 2 losses in conference. You can't afford to look past anybody. Hawaii isn't Boise State or Colorado State. How do you balance that, making sure you don't look past Hawaii and knowing you can't afford any more losses?
By, basically making them the most important game of the season because they're the next game. I mean, like you said, we can't overlook any team, and Hawaii is definitely not one to do that, especially at home with all the distractions. I mean, you see, if you watch the Washington game, I mean, they're not to be taken lightly by any means.
Knowing you guys are kind of backed up against the wall as far as conference standings goes, does that help, just being able to focus on one team at a time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that we do every week, though. We always treat that game the most important game because it's the next one. I mean, I'm not going to look forward towards UNLV or San Diego State because I don't play them for a couple weeks. We got to get past Hawaii. We have to make sure that everything's sound this week. There's a lot of distractions coming up, and we have to make sure that we're a mature team and can handle all of that.
Seeing Nevada though at the bottom of the West standings, is that motivation just for the rest of the season?
I don't look at any of that stuff. It's just play each game, take play by play, and I have faith in our team. We'll be good.
Anything else?
You guys have clearly shown that you can come back in the second half the last 3 weeks, but how nice would it be to go into halftime with a lead?
It'd be nice. We don't have to always keep games so close. A blowout would be nice at some point throughout the season. So I'm just waiting for us to just put all the pieces of the puzzle together. All the Pistons are firing, just really go out and have a great game, and I feel like it's coming. I mean, we've seen it. We've had a great first quarter, one game, second quarter, another, first half, excellent fourth quarter, excellent second half. Sooner or later, all the pieces are going to come together at some point, and it's going to be something truly amazing because this team is something special.
All right, thanks, Brock.
All right, thank you.
Got Kyle Roberts up next. Gentlemen, ask away.
I don't do something on Ian Sale. I think you go up against him in practice every day. I guess what are his strengths as a player?
He has the most incredible get off of anybody on the team. You can see it. I'm sitting on the bench watching the game, and he's just, no matter what play it is, he's the first one off the ball. I swear he beats the center to the snap sometimes. But I think his strengths are just his quickness. He uses great quickness, and he has great creativity in the way that he pass rushes. He has the best fake spin I've ever gone against. And I don't know, he just has a lot of intangibles he just has a lot of good football intelligence and just instincts that help him play to a really high level.
Seems like he's a pretty soft-spoken guy, which might not be kind of the stereotype of a defensive end. Does he have some nastiness and trash talk when he gets on the field?
Oh, yeah. Like in the locker room, he's a pretty humble guy. He never really talks about himself, but when he gets on the field, he's a completely different person. He doesn't care about anything. He'll celebrate. He'll get after a ref if he keeps getting held. He just has a different demeanor on the field because he just wants to win so badly.
Seems like your offensive line, is getting better and better every week. I guess what have you seen in the development of the young guys that have kind of helped the line overall?
I think it's a lot of when the young guys first get in there, they're going to see a lot of new things. Picking up blitzes against our scout team is a lot different than picking up a blitz against Boise State when they're coming full speed off the edge. I think that a lot of that has to do with it. Their film study has gotten a lot better. I think just overall they're getting more into the flow of the game, and we're communicating better, and we're working better as an O-line all together, which is helping us play better as a unit.
I think you guys have done a nice job, pretty much all season protecting Cody. It's been the run game that's, maybe been a little slower to develop. Do you feel like it's there, and if so, what does that do for your offense moving forward?
I think the run game is always a work in progress. A lot of teams predicate their entire their entire game plan on our run game to make sure Cody doesn't get the ball. BYU was making sure Cody didn't get the ball whatsoever. You couldn't pull the ball at all, and then they'd just plug up the holes as best as possible on the front side. So I think a lot of it has to do with how we're getting played, and that we get off to a slow start sometimes because we have trouble identifying what they're doing to us on the defensive front to stop our run game. But I think once we get it flowing like we should be, I think it'll help our offense, our play action game, our passing game. I think it'll help everything overall, and it'll slow down the pass rush, which will be nice.
You guys, I think, put up as big a numbers as anybody against BYU running the ball. Is that a sign that run game is starting to?
I think so. I think more of it is just that we were committed to establishing the run, and it was 3 yards in the cloud of dust. They had some big guys up there, and it was just hard to really just pound the ball in there. Their linebackers are big and come downhill pretty nicely. I think the ability of us to establish a run game to a degree to where they had to respect it was what helped us come back in the second half, was what helped Cody make that long touchdown run, stuff like that, to where they're trying to blitz the house to stop the run, and then they don't have anybody responsible for the quarterback.
And what do you think the key is for the front this week going up against Hawaii?
I think it's going to be a lot of film study. They have a lot of returning starters on defense, and they play pretty coherently as a defense. I think overall it's going to be film study and just continuing to improve in the running game. That's probably our main emphasis most every week.
How would you describe Ron Hudson as a coach?
He's an interesting guy. He loves every player he coaches. He cares about you graduating. He cares about like how your personal life is going. He cares about everything about you, except when you're on the field and you do something wrong. Then he doesn't care who you are. He'll scream his head off, and it's kind of interesting. Some people used to call him Sybil because he's like completely bipolar, like depending where he is. And I think it's nice because you on the field, you know, okay, I got to be on my A game today because I don't want to get screamed at. And I think that helps preparation during the week. You're afraid to get screamed at, which makes you bring your A game during practice, which translates to the game too.
How much do you think he's helped some of the younger guys, help bring them along? What kind of relationship have you seen between the younger players and him?
I think he does a good job of not quite not overcomplicating things for the younger guys. And I think moving Connor to left guard to help Austin rather than having two freshmen on the left side all times definitely helped. So if they see a look they've never seen before, I can help Joey out on the right side. Connor can help Austin out on the left side, and Gallus can help us all out. I think he did that to improve the entire O-line, and I think he's just really good at developing the abilities that you need to contribute at this level.
How much does he help? Obviously, it's his job as a coach, but kind of the in-game adjustments you're talking about as the game goes on, you guys seem to kind of pick things up a little bit more. I mean, can you talk about that side of things? I think
he has a really good eye on standing on the sideline of seeing our footwork, what we could improve on in our footwork, what kind of blitzes they're bringing, what kind of he's coached so long that he knows all the intricacies of like blitzes and defensive schemes to where they'd want to stop our type of offense. So I think he has a lot of insight to how the defensive coaches are calling things, and I think at halftime and when we go to the sideline, that him and Rolo are able to talk those out pretty well and get them across to us.
Being a veteran guy on the team, what are you telling the guys that haven't been to Hawaii about it being a business trip?
I don't think you have to say much. Coach Polian takes care of that a lot. I think once we get there, it'll just be monitoring the younger guys, making sure they're not going on the beach for 6 hours on Friday morning or whatever, not doing anything that is going to inhibit them from playing the best game possible. I think as a veteran, you really just have to police some stuff. I think the coaches take a pretty good job of it, though.
Do you get a sense that this team might be ready to, be another level better, given the advancement of some of the freshmen on the offensive line, and some of the younger guys on defense that are kind of stepping up as well?
I think so. I think we are having a lot of success in the areas that we're trying to improve on. And once we are able to come out in the first half and really put up good numbers and like get into the flow of the game a little quicker, I think that's going to help us a little bit. And I think as far as the young guys, we're over halfway through the season now, and they're starting to understand how it is to play this type of football like for an entire year. It's not just a few hard games here or there. Every game is a battle. And I think they're starting to see that. And I think once we play a complete game as a team, then we could really grow as a team.
Did you see some of this, or early this year with people like Joey and Adam? Did you they were raw and hadn't played yet? Did you see these guys are going to be good this year, not necessarily next year?
Definitely. With Joey, he was out part of fall camp, but between spring ball and the fall camp that he was in, you could really see that he works on the fundamentals, which is a big part of playing O-line. And the fundamentals are going to get you a lot further than just pure strength and athleticism. And he worked on the fundamentals so much that he's been able to work on the more finite details of playing offensive line. And Adam Corey, he's built. He's a giant kid. He's really strong. So I think that kind of helped him. He was kind of the opposite of Joey. He uses brute strength more than anything. And I think more as he plays more and Joey plays more, they're both working on their weaknesses, which is the opposite for each other. So it's kind of interesting to see.
After a couple of tough losses, I mean, how important was it? How good did it feel to get that win at BYU?
It felt incredible. I went up to the seniors on the team. We hugged it out, and we're just excited because after the two last losses, it felt like the end of the world. It felt like our season's down the drain, kind of. And I think Coach Polian helped us come together and refocus and realize that the next game is the most important one. He always emphasizes the next play is the most important play. The next game is the most important game, and I think even though the two losses were pretty tough, we still have all our goals in front of us, and that's a big motivating factor for us.
Why do you think you guys have been so good at hanging in games when they could easily turn into a blowout? You guys have fought back 3 games in a row. Why do you think that the team is so good at that?
I think it just shows a lot of mental toughness that we have, that no matter where we are at in the game, we always feel like we can come back. We always feel like we still have a chance to win. I think that's just coming from last year where we had a lot of good first halves and we blew it up in the second half. I think coming off a year where a lot of us veterans experienced that, we know how to come out in the second half and fight to get back in the game rather than just mail it in and it turning into a blowout.
How important has Cody been in that, that just, obviously he's the key player on offense, but just in terms of being able to come back these last few weeks?
I think, you see it every week. He's a playmaker. When you need a big play out of him, when you need a big pass, when you need him to break out of the pocket and run a little bit, I think he's shown that he's really effective in doing that. And I think more than that is he sees, maybe our O-line isn't protecting us as well as we could have been, like against Colorado State. He's going to do what he can to make us look good while also making plays to help win the game. And I think he's really good at improvising and how their defense is playing you and stuff like that. So I think his experience is really important to the success of our offense.
Anything else for Kyle? All right, thank you. We'll have Jordan Bogert up next. Ask away when you're ready, guys.
Jordan, what do you think the key is come away with a win on Hawai'i this week?
The key to winning the game?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a magic formula to winning this game. I really think it comes down to what we need to do to win this game. I don't think it comes down to what Hawai'i does or what Hawaii's going to do. It's more so about us and about how we're going to prepare to win this game, how we're going to go out and execute our game plan, and that's really going to dictate whether we pull off a win or not.
Do you like this matchup? Hawaii isn't the Hawaii of old where they throw it all over the field anymore, and you guys tend to stop the run fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, from what we've studied already, which is a minimal amount, it's early in the week. I believe that we're going to match up pretty well against this team. I don't think that there's never really a time when we look at a team and we're like, we don't like the matchup. It's because I believe, especially on defense, and I can speak for the team as a whole, is that we believe that if we play to our full potential, there's really nothing that could stop us. Now, saying that, I don't think we have played to our full potential yet this season, and we've still won some games. So I really don't think there's anything for us to really look at and be wary of.
Despite some of the maybe inconsistencies, do you like where this team is right now?
I like where we are. I believe that everyone on the team before the season started had higher aspirations, maybe where we'd be at right now. I think we've let some things go. I think we've let some things go in the past, but I mean we're fixing those things now. We're making progress, and we're working some things out. But I mean everyone thought we would have a couple more wins than we have right now. But it's not. We're still extremely optimistic. It's not the end of the season. We just came off a big win. We're happy about that, and we're still full steam ahead. So everything's good there.
You guys have a pretty veteran defense, but you've had some young guys kind of step up these last games, especially this last game. How important has that been?
It's been extremely important, and it's something that we've been discussing also as a team and as a defensive unit, is how you never really know when you're going to be thrust into a position to play, and you have to be prepared to be thrust into that position. So they've been an excellent aid to us, and I mean some of them have filled positions on the team that are vital to the success of the defense. So I mean that's something that you always have to kind of rely on, is depth on a team, and I think we found it here on defense.
Hawaii has been very good at home over the years. I mean, what do you think makes that trip so tough?
I just think it comes down to one thing. It's pretty simple. It's just focus. I think that's really easy to lose focus. You're going to Hawaii. It's a big tourist destination. Not only that, you go and play in the Pro Bowl stadium, and it's huge, and there's hardly anyone there. So it's kind of a dead crowd. Those things can get to you, when you're used to playing here in the United States on the main continent, and then you leave and you're at the beach and you're doing all these things, and sometimes for traveling arrangements you have to leave early. So it's just it can throw you off, and I think that's the biggest thing, is that for the guys who have made the trip, like me and other guys, the older guys on the team who've made the trip multiple times, it's not so hard to stay focused. But as K-Rob was talking about earlier, you got to keep the younger guys focused, and I think that's what it's all about, is just maintaining focus.
Having so many seniors and juniors as leaders on this team, does that help you in this situation? I mean, does a team in your shoes have a better chance than a team that's got a bunch of guys who've never been to Hawaii?
It's kind of hard to speculate on that, because you can't really speak for another team. All I would say is that having guys on this team who have been there to play for an in-season game, and part of guys who went for the bowl game, I mean, we've been there, we've done it before. It's just another game. So I think it does help us. To answer half of your question, it does help us, and it does give us an advantage. It's hard for me to really speculate on another teams.
Who do you think Wolsey does well at quarterback?
I noticed this morning when I was watching some tape on him that I like the way he moves. I like the way he moves when he's rolling out and throwing a boot pass. And I mean, we're gonna make some adjustments and fit up the boot pretty well. But that's what I noticed. I like the way he moves on offense.